Welcome to My Therapist is Out. Each episode, we talk with a therapist from Open Space Therapy Collective or LGBT community members about mental health and building community. I'm your host, Renae Johnson, licensed therapist and founder of Open Space Therapy Collective, where we are your hub for queer and trans mental health care.
As we dive into today's topic, please keep in mind that this is a mental health podcast. We will talk about sensitive and difficult issues that are not appropriate for all audiences. Please take care while listening.
Welcome back to My Therapist is Out. We have another one of our holiday mini-sodes, and we have our therapist, Jenny Nigro, with us. It's so good to see you.
Well, thank you. Very good to see you as well.
Oh, thank you. So this will be the last one in our holiday mini-sode series. The holidays have just passed. We are all in the hangover phase of whatever that was for everybody. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to take care of yourself. How are you feeling about the holidays?
It's always like just kind of a roller coaster during, and then there's a point where you just kind of start to dissociate, I think, and just wait until it's over. You're like, okay, let's just push through. We made it. So I think now is really the time to even more the whole time is the time, but to really pay attention to what you need for support from yourself.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned the dissociation piece because I don't think anybody's touched on that yet, because that is definitely a thing. Like the marathon that happens from like Halloween through New Year's is just so much, and it like builds and builds, and at some point we all just kind of like pop right out of our bodies and are floating out there somewhere.
Yeah, and that's not a bad thing. It can be like very it's like preservation sometimes.
Totally. To dive in, what are some common things that you see with your queer clients or queer community that happens after the holidays are kind of over and people are coming out and trying to reorient to the new year?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think for a lot of people, they have been so saturated with spending time with others, whether it's in a supportive way or in a non-supportive way, that there always seems to be this period of like, okay, I really need to spend some time with myself and find out what it is that I need going forward, what it is that I want to focus on. If you have dissociated, come back into yourself. If you have been spending a lot of time with people and putting all your energy outwards, take some time to put that towards yourself and really hone in on what's going to feel good for you moving forward and what you might need from others. And maybe what you need from others is like to be away from them for a while. Again, even if you had a really supportive community around you during the holidays, when that happens, it's a great, it's a joyful thing. And then there can sometimes be this letdown of like, oh, like it's over. We were all celebrating and now we're back to whatever. So either way, it's an opportunity for you to kind of draw from your internal resources and look at what that's going to look like for you going forward.
Yeah. I like how you're naming that it's not just like if it was a difficult holiday, but like it's even when it's a really good holiday and like spending all that time and then checking on that social battery. Like, do you need to be alone and like reconnect to that self, or is there going to be like a deep sad that comes because there's kind of that disconnect of like everybody being together all the time, and now we're in a phase where everybody's kind of exhausted. I mean, in this place and pulling on those internal resources, what are some kind of practical go-to tools that people can use to really kind of reconnect and reorient?
Honestly, the most basic ones are the people are least likely to do. Like, get back on a regular schedule. eat like meals at structured times, drink water. Those are the things that get thrown out the window during the holidays, for whatever reason. And you're, not eating as you normally would. You're not sleeping as you normally would. Maybe you're eating more sugar, drinking more alcohol. Maybe you're not doing any of those things, but the stress is just like throwing your sleep out of whack. So, it sounds very basic, but most people really need like to conscientiously get back into their basic daily like habits of feeding themselves and watering themselves and like resting.
100%. And I will be the first one to say I get so bad at this. Like it just goes out the window. I'm like, I can just stay up a little bit later. Oh, but I love this like sweet treat that only comes around at this time of year. One more glass of mulled wine. It's fine. It's the holidays. Like, yeah. And so
And
getting
you
back in
forget
that,
that
like,
it's like at least 2 months of that.
yeah, yeah.
Not like one time, it's over 2 months.
My liver is already being like, listen to Jenny.
I'm
What
not
are,
saying
as you're
don't indulge. Just saying, don't forget
also
that.
drink your water.
Yeah, drink it.
How do you have self-compassion as you're getting back into this? Because I know it's easy, especially like with all the New Year's resolutions and the total bullshit around New Year, New You. How do you have some self-compassion as you like get back to the basics and get back to connecting with yourself?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I'm sure you will have many episodes on people saying how much they hate New Year's resolutions. If you don't, I can say it right now. I hate New Year's resolution. I think it really ties into your practice of just getting back to taking care of yourself in basic ways. Like, if all you can do for the first week is just make sure you sleep 7 hours a night, then that is really great. Like, that's a really great accomplishment. Be really kind to yourself, be really patient with yourself because you've just been through a lot, like mentally, emotionally. Again, whether it was positive or not so positive, it's super draining and super taxing, physically, emotionally. So I definitely remind people as much as possible to take it slowly, be very kind to yourself. And if you have a hard time doing that, try to imagine that you're like a little dead plant that has like been overwatered and it's cold and you're sad and you are just trying to gently like gently bring that plant back to life, and you're not going to try to like throw everything in the kitchen sink at it because then you're probably just going to totally kill it from overwhelm and exhaustion.
Plant metaphor is good. Because you can't just like fix a plant overnight. Like it needs time and it needs to a lot of gentleness and a lot of patience. And so do we.
You didn't kill it overnight, and it's not going to come back to life overnight. And also, if you're a person who throws out a plant when it dies, do that in this metaphor. Just like, once you've done everything you can ask for help, like from other people to regenerate the plant that is you.
What are some ways to find joy and find some affirmation in the new year and as you're getting yourself back to basics?
One of the ways that I find joy, and it doesn't speak to everyone, but really doing something that speaks to my five senses, like intentionally cooking or eating something that is very delightful to eat, having really good smells around me, soft fabrics, whatever it is that you want to do to make your input through your five senses more enjoyable. To me, those are things that bring joy, especially if you are approaching it mindfully and you really take something very simple and start to appreciate how beautiful it is and how like amazing it is that like you have a gorgeous plant that has a flower and smells really nice, and you can make tea from the leaves, and really looking at the little things like that, I find to be particularly joyful when I'm looking for ways to like harness a little bit more of that joy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really like that, the simple joys and like I even as you're saying that, like binging on Drag Race is a great like
Yep.
queer simple joy. Really also goes hand in hand with like getting back the basics of self-care and eating and sleeping and drinking water. What about any, like, as people are going through this, they're getting back to basics, they're enjoying the simple joys. What are some like mental health check-ins that they can do for themselves, whether it's asking themselves questions or journaling about something or resources they can reach out to? What are one or two that you are your favorites or you recommend?
Yeah, I always like, whether you're journaling it or just like doing a mental check-in, of just rating yourself on a little scale day to day, maybe 1 to 5. How am I doing when I get up in the morning, along whatever domain it is that you want to check in on? How's my depression? How's my anxiety? How's my social battery? 1 through 5. And then for me, that can help me see, um, some type of like movement across the days, even if it's just tiny little incremental. I mean, we're never trying to go from like a 5 to a 1. We're just trying to go to like maybe a 4.5 to a 4. And when I see that visually, it helps me. So if someone does have a journaling practice, I definitely recommend incorporating that kind of like scale into your daily journaling. Or if you don't, just, maybe a note for yourself, or just like a note on your phone even can really help. Or having a friend that you just check in via text with each other daily. Where are you at today? That type of thing.
Cool. Yeah, I like that. It reminds me, I had a client that did something similar. This is maybe last year, where they would do that every day, except they would do it with colors. And so like they assigned like different colors to different like feeling states or different like ranking states. And then they put it all on the same page. So they were able to see like after a month or two of like kind of the patterns and the changes. And there was a lot of changes. And they were doing a lot of like really good self-care and their own like work in therapy and stuff. But it was cool to see that on the paper.
That's awesome. What a great idea.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And for these like very grounded, like basic and simple, but also vital tools to like take us into the new year. So I really appreciate you taking the time.
Of course. Always happy to be here.
Well, thank you for joining us today. We will be back in 2 weeks with a full episode. It's officially 2025, so we are back in the swing of things. And in the meantime, here is your queer moment of joy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andres Gonzalez. My pronouns are they, them. And I'm a marriage and family therapist, and I work at Foothill Family.
Awesome. And can you tell us a recent moment of queer joy?
Oh my God, karaoke with my friends at my house. That's always fun. Every time, we try to do it on the weekends, but yeah, doing karaoke with my friends. Always, we throw a little bit of drag, a little bit of dance, a little bit of everything. So it feels good, yeah.
Thanks for joining us. If you're in California and looking for a therapist, visit our website at openspacetherapycollective.com and book a free intro call with one of our therapists. If you're enjoying My Therapist Is Out, please rate, review, and follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. My Therapist Is Out is an Open Space Therapy Collective podcast. We'd love to hear from you about today's topic, so email us at info@openspacetherapycollective.com. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram at Open Space Therapy Collective. Thanks for listening.